Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, because in the last 24 hours or so, we've seen Bitcoin get above a major, and I do mean major, downtrend of resistance that Bitcoin has been under for the majority of 2018. That would be the long-term downtrend, which Bitcoin has been under for a very, very long time. Bitcoin just got above it this morning, and we were expecting a more dramatic breakout of this, but as we can see on the chart here, Bitcoin has made its transition back into being a stable coin, and it doesn't seem like we were going to be getting the major breakout that we were looking for. Now, of course, that major breakout may be happening in between the time I record and the video going live, and it also may be happening sometime in the next week, but for the time being, it seems that Bitcoin, like I said, has kind of slotted back into its old method of just being a stable coin as it has been for the last couple of weeks, and in this video, I want to discuss that and talk about where I think Bitcoin is going to go, because I do think we're going to see a lot more bullish price action coming into Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets coming over the next couple of days into the next couple of weeks, but I'm not totally convinced it's all going to be coming all at once. It seems that we may be seeing kind of a gradual shift back into bullish territory, and we're going to be discussing that in today's video. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Like we discussed in yesterday's video, and like we've been discussing for the better part of the last 2 weeks or so, Bitcoin has been in this consolidation pattern right here between this uptrend of support right there and this long-term downtrend of resistance right here for quite some time now. And like I said in the intro, Bitcoin has kind of turned into a stable coin recently. We haven't seen a whole lot of price action. Bitcoin has been bouncing around above and below, not very far above and below. In fact, the level of support and resistance at $6,600. We can see Bitcoin has basically just been trading sideways here, except in the last 24 hours, we did see Bitcoin get above the downtrend of resistance. Unfortunately, like I said, we didn't get a major breakout from that. Anyway, what I do want to point out also is that the altcoins that we talked about in yesterday's video, which you can watch in the top right where we discussed this breakout as it was happening live, the altcoins that we discussed, Ethereum and EOS, have also very definitively broken their downtrends of resistance as well. As we can see here, Ethereum over US dollars was in a consolidation pattern, and depending on how you draw the trend line, very well may still be. But nevertheless, on my chart anyway, it definitely does seem that Ethereum has broken its downtrend of resistance and has broken bullish out of its consolidation pattern. But as with Bitcoin and as also with EOS, which I'm about to show you, it is concerning that we haven't seen a larger, more dramatic breakout when it comes to the breaking of such a long consolidation pattern, because typically you see a lot more price action coming out of these, but overall the sentiment in the market has been very, not necessarily bearish, but kind of just mediocre to say the least. It's just been kind of meh. That's how we describe the market. We haven't seen a lot of volatility. We haven't seen a lot of interest. A lot of the numbers for YouTubers have been dropping. A lot of the interest in the market has been dropping. A lot of the volume's been dropping. The volatility's been dropping. The Bollinger Bands on the daily charts have been constricting, and really we see overall the market is just shrinking in so far as its user base and its adoption, and also just in the interest that we've seen in the cryptocurrency space. And I think that kind of leads into why Ethereum, Bitcoin, and EOS breaking their consolidation patterns hasn't seen a major rally like we were hoping it would, simply because the overall sentiment in the market is rather neutral, to say that it's extremely neutral, to the point of being kind of annoying actually. EOS, on the other hand, has had more of a dramatic breakout of its consolidation pattern. Nothing really to write home about here though, but as we can see, EOS EOS did get above this downtrend of resistance right here in not so spectacular a way. We did see EOS do pretty well here, and I did make a trade on EOS. I talked about a couple videos ago that I was going to be trading this, and I did indeed do that, and I'm quite happy with it at the moment. But EOS is another one of these players that hasn't really moved a whole lot after breaking out of its consolidation pattern. Anyway, we're going to keep going with the technical analysis, but I do want to go ahead and do the crypto market recap, as that has become kind of a tradition here at the beginning of the videos. As we can see, when we refresh the page, Bitcoin is trading above $6,650, but not very far above it. Depending on what exchange you look at, we're trading in between around $6,650 and $6,700. Currently on Bitfinex, the chart I use, we're trading at almost exactly 66666, 5 sixes, which is rather ominous for the market, to say the least. But anyway, Bitcoin's daily volume is hovering around $4 billion. That's up a little bit from where it was yesterday. We have seen some more volume flow back into the market, but not the kind of volume we would like to see for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market to kick off a new rally. We definitely want to see Bitcoin continuing to turn bullish as it is, and the cryptocurrency markets are looking healthier than they were looking 48 to 72 hours ago, but we haven't really seen the major volume and the major volatility return in such the dramatic fashion that we were perhaps hoping for, although like I said, we'll be discussing that some more in a little bit more detail later on. Bitcoin is up over the last 24 hours because we have seen this break bullish, and we saw the same thing on the altcoin markets in not so big a fashion on some and in a more dramatic fashion on others. But nevertheless, overall, the cryptocurrency and the altcoin markets are faring a little bit, are definitely doing okay today, I should say. Maker, Cybermiles, Populous, Noacoin, and Decred all being up over 10%. And as we scroll down here, we can see the vast majority of altcoins are green. We don't see a single altcoin in the red, in double-digit red, I should say. Tron is down by about 4.32%. Tron had a very, very good week. I had a couple of people requesting that I do some technical analysis on Tron. Unfortunately, I didn't get to it, but as we can see here on the 7-day price graphs, Tron did have quite a good week, but over the last 36 hours or so, since I'm recording this, it seems to be tapering off a little bit. Anyway, Tron did try to get into the top 10. I think briefly it did, but currently it's sitting in number 11 position here on CoinMarketCap. Ethereum is doing all right. It's trading around $230, and like I showed you earlier, Ethereum is one of those altcoins that did break bullish out of a consolidation pattern and didn't really see a lot of price action following through on that, which is most unfortunate. Other than that, we do see that Ethereum is doing pretty well on its change over the last 24 hours. Ethereum has had some bullish volume come into it. EOS is the exact same thing. XRP hasn't been faring very well. It is kind of the sore thumb sticking out here in the top 10. XRP has done very, very well over the last several weeks, and XRP has definitely needed some time to cool off. What I was hoping was kind of one of these XRP style rallies coming out of the altcoins. Now, I did not by any stretch of the imagination expect any of these altcoins to go and move like 150% or 200% like XRP did here. I didn't expect something like that, but I would have liked to see 20 or 30% coming out of some of these altcoins to bring a lot more bullish sentiment back into the market, and I do still think that's very possible for later on, although it doesn't look like that's going to be happening over the next couple of days. With that said, I do believe that's everything that we wanted to cover here on CoinMarketCap, so let's go ahead and get on to the rest of the technical analysis for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets. Because like I said, Bitcoin has gotten above this downtrend of resistance, which is very, very good, but we haven't seen the major bullish breakout that we were hoping for. Now, what does that mean? Because just about everything that a chart does carries some kind of meaning. Now, of course, there's plenty of randomness, there's plenty of noise that is completely irrelevant when you're doing your technical analysis, but normally when something seems like it's going to be important, or normally when something seems a little off, something seems a little strange on a market, on a chart, typically that means that the market is telling you something, and typically you can discern some kind of message from that, because Bitcoin acting like a stable coin here for the last 2 weeks isn't an accident. Well, I mean, it is definitely not planned, of course. The market isn't planned. The market, in my opinion anyway, moves mostly naturally, but it definitely is telling us something. And what I think it's telling us is that a lot of the people in the cryptocurrency space have straight up left the cryptocurrency space. We've seen adoption drop off. We've seen use drop off of the cryptocurrency market. In November and December, I don't know why it keeps telling me this. In November and December, we saw Bitcoin transaction fees, for example, hovering around $56, $70 on some days. Currently, you can send Bitcoin across the blockchain for about a 1 cent transaction fee. Transaction fees are basically null and void. Almost all profit from mining is currently coming from block rewards. There's almost no transaction fees because there's so few transactions currently going on, as opposed to how many transactions that were going on in November and December. A lot of people have left the cryptocurrency space. The hash power has gone up, but a lot of people in the space have left. A lot of the volatility has gone down. A lot of people have left the market, and I think that's really come to a climax here over the last couple of months, and really over the last couple of weeks especially. If we come out here to the daily chart and we bring our Bollinger Bands up, we're going to see that very, very clearly. Let's go ahead and get this up. Now, I haven't pre-planned this, but I can tell you guys from experience what the Bollinger Bands are going to look like here. They're going to be very constricted. Let's go ahead and get BB up if my indicators tab would like to load. But when we get this up, what we're going to see is that the Bollinger Bands are very, very tight. And typically when the Bollinger Bands are very, very tight, that typically indicates a very low volatility. I don't know if it doesn't look like TradingView is going to cooperate with me here anyway. Come on, TradingView. You don't want to get Bollinger Bands up? Okay, well, I'll tell you what Bollinger Bands will look like. Right now, what the Bollinger Bands would look like if TradingView would like to cooperate is that the northerly band would be curving in something like this, and the southerly band would be curving in something like this. With the 20 simple moving average, I can show you where that is because I have a 20 simple moving average right here, with the 20 simple moving average moving right around there. Let's go ahead and close that. The Bollinger Bands are going to look something like that if we were to get our chart up. Of course, they're not going to go this far over because the market only goes that far, but the Bollinger Bands, I'm sure, are getting very, very tight right now because the Bollinger Bands, the way that I use them with 2 standard deviations, take into account 95% of the market. And what that means is that when the Bollinger Bands are getting very tight, that's a very, very good way of signaling when there's very low volatility. And a lot of times what you see when there's very low volatility or when there's very high volatility is it's actually a contrarian sign. This is kind of one of these concepts where a lot of people like to say, for example, that when everyone's bearish, that's your time to be bullish, or when everyone's bullish, that's your time to be bearish. Another way that you can look at that, another one of those coins with 2 sides and that you can kind of use with your technical analysis, is the idea that when the volatility is very low, typically that means volatility that's very high is probably about to come. You see that a lot in consolidation patterns, which I'll show you. And of course, we've seen before. And I'll show you an example on XRP over US dollars. Typically, when you see a consolidation pattern, volatility drops off, tension builds up, and you see a massive return of that volatility in a very dramatic way. An example of that would be right here when XRP was in a consolidation pattern. Right over here, that when the chart loads is a very good example of that. We can see XRP was in a consolidation pattern right here. And when the volatility returned, it returned in a very dramatic way after it dropped off as the consolidation pattern moved in. And the same thing is true when, with the opposite, when there's a lot of volatility in the market. A lot of times what that's signaling is that volatility is perhaps about to drop off. A good example of that, if I were able to get Bollinger Bands up, would have been in December of 2017 when we saw Bitcoin running up exponentially parabolically to $20,000. We saw Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency markets absolutely mooning. We saw the markets going absolutely parabolic, and the Bollinger Bands got very, very wide. They were out here somewhere, like way out here. We saw Bollinger Bands get very, very wide. My dog just kicked the door open. That's what that was, if you could hear that. Anyway, we saw Bollinger Bands get very, very, very wide, and normally what you see is that when volatility gets very high, the market's probably about to have some kind of reversal, and we're probably about to see volatility start to drop off, which is what we saw. When the bull market started picking up, we saw volatility picking up, and then when the bear market started, we saw volatility dropping off. And I think we're getting kind of close to that climax here where volatility is about to have a reversal, and we're about to see it kind of the climax of low volatility, if you want to call it that, where volatility is very, very low. We see volatility peak or slowing down right here. We have a lot less volatility than we did, and I think that's going to start coming back in a very big way as we enter the accumulation phase and hopefully a new bull market coming in the next 3 to 4 months. Tell me in the comments section down below what you guys think about that, because what we're seeing right now, of course, is that there's very low interest in the market, and Bitcoin has proven that with a very lackluster break of this downtrend of resistance. I think it's going to come back in a big way, although I think it's probably going to take some time to do. And one more thing that I want to touch on is that just because we haven't gotten a major break of this downtrend of resistance doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to in the future. Just because we haven't gotten a dramatic northerly price movement in Bitcoin and many of these other altcoins doesn't mean that that isn't going to happen. A lot of times what you'll see, not a lot of times, but you will sometimes anyway, see consolidation patterns be broken, and the follow through from that consolidation pattern being broken will come a couple of days later, or however long later, depending on what time frame you're looking at. Of course, if we're looking at a 5-minute consolidation pattern, it may not happen a day later. But a lot of times you'll see these kind of things come a little bit later. You might see the market do something like this, where you break bullish, come down here, test resistance, or excuse me, test support, and then you get a massive breakout. I can't think of an example of that on the market off the top of my head, but you do see that kind of thing happen. And also, one more thing that I want to point out is that many of these altcoins, their volatility is very tightly linked with Bitcoin. And one thing that you can do on Bitcoin is actually you can draw this trend line a bit differently. You can draw it like you can change it just a little bit to something like this. And if you draw it like that, then we're actually not even above the downtrend of resistance yet. I saw several people in the Discord server commenting on this and talking about how, depending on how you draw the downtrend of resistance, we're not even actually technically above it. You can draw it something like this and say that we're still below it. So there's a lot of arguments to say that there's still a lot of northerly price movement coming, although we may just be waiting a little bit longer for it to happen. We've waited this long, and I think we're strong enough to wait a little bit longer. Tell me in the comments section down below also if you guys are accumulating at these levels. These are amazing levels to be buying at, in my opinion anyway, and I'm definitely liking the idea of accumulating more and more Bitcoin down here for the long term, because I'm honestly not convinced that we're going to see Bitcoin go back below $6,000. And really, when we're looking at Bitcoin from 10 years from now and looking back on this time, I think this is going to look like a very good time to be buying Bitcoin. Now, of course, don't go quote me on that. If Bitcoin does go below $6,000, anything can happen. But from the way I see it, I think this is definitely a good time to be getting into the market. Am I telling you to go buy Bitcoin? No, I'm not telling you to go buy Bitcoin. I just said that for legal reasons. Anyway, guys, that's basically going to do it for this video. Tell me in the comment section down below what you think of the market. It is kind of hard to find compelling things to talk about when Bitcoin is literally acting like a stable coin. That's the 4th time I've made that analogy in this video. I did count them. And it's really a very good analogy for Bitcoin right now, because Bitcoin really just isn't doing a whole lot. But that's okay. One of the things that someone in the Discord server, I do forget who it was, I apologize, come in the Discord server and quote me on this, and hopefully whoever said this will remind me who it was. But someone said that one of the best things about a bear market is that when you're in a bear market, that's the time that you want to be learning how to make money, because when the bull market comes around, you want to be ready. So that's one thing that is very, very good about the market right now, is that even though the market is trading sideways, even though there's not a whole lot of interesting things happening in the market, there's still time to learn, guys. And luckily for you, I just launched the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy, hashtag shameless self-promotion, link in the description down below. But anyway, guys, I'm not going to get into that. That's going to do it for this video. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.